In this week's video, I mentioned that random assignment tends to create roughly similar groups of people, and in today's activity, I'm going to have you do a demonstration to demonstrate that that's true. First, you need to open up a blank Google Sheet like I did here, and in the first column, type in 30 participant ID numbers from person 1 up to person 30, like I did here. You don't have to type in all 30 numbers because you could just type in participant 1 like this, and then hover at the bottom right corner and drag it down, and it'll automatically type the first 30 ID numbers for all 30 people. And in column B, you need to make the title random like I did here. I'll explain what this means in just a minute. Then in the next column, well, in the next 7 columns, you're going to be making up or thinking of 7 characteristics that would differ between your participants, and they can be whatever 7 characteristics you want, as long as they're all numerical, so each one has to involve numbers. And I decided to use age, height, GPA, and these other 4 variables, but I didn't have to. And you could use these 7 same variables that I did, but you don't have to. Just pick 7 characteristics and make sure that they're all numerical, and type in their names up here in the first row. Next, you need to make up scores for your 30 participants. So here I made up the scores for person 1. I made up the scores for person 2, all the way up to person 30. So just make up scores for all 30 people. So make sure that there's a realistic amount of variability. Don't make the scores exactly the same, or even almost exactly the same. But otherwise, you can just make up whatever numbers you'd like to make up. And if you want to save some work, what you could do is just make up the scores for the first 10 people, copy and paste them, and then we'll copy them and then paste them for the next 10 people, and then paste them again for the last 10 people. So just duplicate the first 10 rows two different times. You could do that to save some work, and then you'll still have a realistic amount of variation in the data set. And once you have your made up data set, go over here and type in group 1 in the first row, and I did it in column L. So I would do it the same way I did it and leave 2 blank columns right here just as a divider, and then here type in an equal sign, and then after you do that, type in participant 1 over here. Well, I'm sorry, let me do that again. So go over here to where it says participant 1, type in an equal sign under group 1 in this cell, click on participant 1, and then press enter. And it should say equals A2, which is column A, row 2. Press enter, and you'll get the value. After you do that, hover at the bottom right corner and drag all the way down to participant 30. No, sorry, not 30, 15. Because group 1 is just the first 15 people. And then over here, type in an equal sign and click on your first score for person 1, which for me is person 1's age, and then press enter, and then drag it down, and you'll get the scores for all 15 people. And make sure that when you click on these, that it gives you the cell number up here, like equals C3, and not the actual score, because you need for these to refer back to the position of the cell over here. And once you get the first column, just highlight the column, hover at the bottom right, and then drag it across, and it'll give you the data for all columns, for all 7 columns. Then once you do that, calculate the average for group 1 on each column. So go down here to this row, well, I would skip over one row and just type in equals average. Then type in a left parentheses, and then highlight the first column. Then type in a right parentheses, and then press enter. So this says equals average M2 colon M16, which just means the average of everything from row 2 to row 16 in column M. So I press enter and I get the average. Now click and hover at the bottom right and drag it across, and you'll get the average for every column. Now you need to calculate all of the averages for group 2. So go down here for group, type in group 2, and do the same thing over again. So here we're going to type in an equal sign, and we're going to click on participant 16. And press enter, and it'll give us this value over here in column A, row 17. And now drag it down like you did before, all the way up to 30 for all 30 people. And now to do the same thing for the scores. So here I'm going to enter an equal sign and click on the first score for person 16. So for me it's 21 right here. Then drag it down, then drag it across. And now I'm going to calculate the average for group 2 on each column. So I'm going to type in equals average, type the left parentheses, then highlight the entire column, type the right parentheses, and then press enter. Then drag it across to get the average for all 7 columns. Now we can compare group 1 and group 2 on each of these variables. But first we need to randomly assign the 30 people to the 2 groups, because right now it's just the first 15 people in group 1 and the last 15 in group 2. But we're going to randomly shuffle the 30 people, and 15 random people will go into group 1 and 15 random people will go into group 2, and because of that the averages will change. To do that we need to make our column of random numbers right here. So in this first cell under random, type in equals RAND, then type in a left parentheses and a right parentheses with nothing in between. Then press enter. You'll get a random number between 0 and 1. Then drag it down at the bottom right corner. You'll get a random number for each person. Now we need to sort the data set. So highlight the entire data set except for the top row with the column titles. Then go to data. Then go to sort range right here. Then go to column B, which is the column of random numbers, and sort from A to Z. What it'll do now is it'll sort the random numbers from lowest to highest, and then that'll randomly shuffle the 30 people. So notice how it's participant 29 at the top now, and then 16, 15. It's just randomly shuffled. So now this is still the first 15 rows in group 1, but now it's a random group of 15. And this is still the last 15 rows, but it's another random group of 15. So what I want you to do now, since the people have been randomly assigned, compare the group averages on each characteristic and decide if you think the 2 groups are roughly similar on the characteristic. And since it's random, you expect the 2 groups to be at least roughly similar on at least most of the characteristics. you shouldn't see very many big differences. So right here, we can see that the average age of group 1 is 23.2, and the average age of group 2 is 26.4. I would say that that's rough. The two groups are roughly similar in age, because considering that the ages vary from about 18 to 40 in this data set. So what I want you to do in this next row down here is use your own judgment or your own thinking to decide if you think the groups are exactly equal, roughly similar, or highly different on the characteristic, and and type in your answer down here. So let's actually use some code numbers. Type in 1 if they're exactly equal, 2 if you think they're roughly equal, and 3 if you think that they're highly different. So I said that I thought the two averages of 23 and 26 were roughly equal, so I'll put a 2. And it just use your own thinking when you answer this part. Um, I would just say that they're roughly equal unless you see a difference that kind of stands out to you as being unusual or kind of surprising. If you do see a surprisingly big difference, say that they're highly different, which would be a 3. So let's look at the second one. The average height for group 1 is 65.2. The average height for group 2 is 70, which means group 1 has an average of 5 foot, let's see, 5'5", and this one is 5'10". And the heights, looks like the heights vary from about, let's see, 60, from about 55 to 76. So I'm just going to say, using my own judgment, I'm going to say that that's roughly equal. So group 1 has a mean GPA of 3.05. Group 2 has a mean GPA of 3.2. That's roughly equal. I'm pretty confident about that. And just do this for all 7 columns. And what I just mentioned was if most of them should be roughly equal because it's random assignment. But if you see one that kind of stands out to you as being surprising or unlikely, then type in a 3 for highly different. Next, what I want you to do is do another simulation. So click on plus to open up a new spreadsheet. And then copy the entire spreadsheet. And paste it. And now what you have to do is it'll just randomly sort the numbers one more time. So you're going to be taking the same 30 people, but just randomly shuffling them into 2 new groups of 15. So it's just a second trial of the random assignment. So just like you did before, highlight everything except the column titles at the left side. Go to data, go to sort range, and sort by column B again. And now it's 2 new groups of 15. The averages will change. And now do the same thing over again. At the bottom of each column, tell me if you think that tell me if it's exactly equal, roughly equal, or highly different or surprisingly different. So here, this is 28.6. This is 20.9. Those are the two averages for age. Here it's 6 for height. The two averages are 65 and 70. For GPA, it's 2.96 and 3.29.